In this episode, we explore the energetic concept of time travel and the magic of catching our own words, the words that are right there. And we catch them by writing or verbal journaling. Welcome to the Plumb podcast. This is a podcast for possibility.
We begin from a unique starting point and the conversation unfolds from there. We express authentically and we create the space for you to do the same.
Hi, I'm Rosalee.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Plumb Collective.
The starting point for this conversation came out of a Plumb practice session. Plumb practice is a unique guided experience that starts with a sensory experience that we listen to. It's kind of like a visualization or a meditation, but it engages all your senses, and it's an opportunity for you to sense yourself. We call it a sensuization. After the sensuization, we give time for self-expression. And Rosalee and I use the tool of writing to express ourselves.
We believe that writing is time travel. Writing creates a record of where you are in this moment that you can come back to anytime, to witness yourself and to really feel what it felt like to be you in this moment.
The way that we approach writing is maybe a little different than what you learned in school or other ways that you've experienced writing. We're never setting out to write something good or even to write something that makes any sense at all. Our job in Plumb practice sessions is just to write whatever words are right there, whatever is coming up in our experience. And the reason we listen to a guided sensory experience first is because it creates a space for something to show up, rather than just sitting down with an empty notebook and saying, go. A lot of us have trouble with that, and that's a daunting experience. So we listen to that sensory experience first. It creates the space that we can play and just record whatever words come up. In the conversation you're about to hear, you'll first hear Rosalee's writing. And this particular writing is such a great example of someone writing the words that are right there and trusting themselves to just record and not make it make sense or figure it out as they went along.
As I was writing during this session, I really did not know what I was talking about. I didn't think that my writing made any sense at all when I was writing it, but I participate in Plumb practice every week. I am committed to being a stenographer of my inner experience. I write down the words. I don't make them mean anything. I don't try to figure them out before I write them down. I just write them down as I feel them. And this is an example of that.
In Plumb practice, when we're finished writing, we take time to read our writing back to ourselves, and we call that witnessing ourselves. And the point of witnessing is not to figure out our writing, but just to notice what we're sensing and feeling as we're reading our words back.
When I witnessed this writing, I realized it did make sense. There were connections that I could make. And that is the beauty of Plumb practice, because when we write the words that are right there and we don't try to figure them out, we don't adjust it before it's on the page. We let it come out naturally, the way that the words are just right there in our experience. When I read them back, I was like, oh, this does make sense. There is a connection here that I can make. And sometimes we read our writing back and the whole thing might not make any sense, but there's one sentence or one word that then becomes a stepping stone to the next piece of writing. And it really is a practice and a process to get to know yourself and connect with the words that are right there that make up your inner experience, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's going on in this moment. If we don't mess with that, if we just record it the way that it is, it gives us the opportunity to see ourselves from new perspectives.
My writing also was a great example of being with whatever words are right there, because you can hear me going into and out of different thoughts. I would start something and then I would say, nah, and then I'd move on to something else. And I just allowed myself to do that. And during my writing, I had a memory of writing in my blog, which is something that I did in years past as my creative outlet, the concept of time travel really came forward in the conversation that we had about my writing.
Witnessing Sarah's writing, it was obvious to me how magical the act of recording our words, our inner dialogue, and what we're thinking in that moment is. Sarah's writing was such a clear example of time travel. Thinking of Sarah at different points in her life and different experiences she had connecting to these different moments, I thought about how many moments people have they forget about. But then when you look at a photo or a video, or if you do write it down, it brings you immediately back to that moment. And you are then able to be with yourself at that time in that experience, and how much you've learned in the years since that moment by connecting to a former version of you, some past memory, or something that you just have maybe forgotten about, that you can reconnect with it and it can feel so present in the present moment.
That's what Plum practice is for. You can start right now and have this practice every week where you write where you are right now. You show yourself where you are, and you can set it aside and come back to it in years to come and witness yourself and see where you were.
You can see where you were, and you can see what has changed and what has stayed the same.
Plum practice is a practice of plotting points on your storyline,
on the timeline of your life.
And over time, you may see that the points connect and a clearer and clearer picture of you can develop. If you're interested in joining us in Plum Practice, you can access our free session. It's called The Mirror, and it's on our website. And you can also join our membership, where you get a new session of Plum Practice every week. And we explore different sensuizations using different metaphors and images and energetic concepts.
We would love to have you be a Plum Practice member.
As you listen to our writing and conversation, here's a list of things to listen for.
It's how to live with my eyes open. What is art if not making record of how you feel? Writing allows me the space to listen to what I am trying to tell myself. My most significant witness is me.
As you listen to the conversation, these things can feel like items on a scavenger hunt list. So see if you can hear them as you listen to this episode. Now we're going to listen to Rosalee's writing that came out of the Plum Practice session, where we explored the energetic concept of time travel and the magic of writing.
I am more coherent than it feels when it's banging around on the inside. It's clearer on the outside. I don't know where to start writing, so I'm just writing that. I'm playing back what I felt during the sensuization, trying to figure it out, make it make sense, or maybe give it some profound meaning, or make it useful, or maybe it means nothing. Even before I finished writing that thought, I thought, bullshit. Everything means something. What I make it mean, or what I choose it to mean, what I decide it means, what it has to mean, what it should mean, and maybe 100 more of those from my perspective and the perspective of every human being ever, depending on the day, depending on their mood, if they give me or themselves the benefit of the doubt, or if they are resentful or hurt or happy. The thing itself will mean something that feels like the absolute truth to each person and each person's perspective in any given moment. Am I becoming a maybe person? When enough time has passed, or enough distance, or zoomed out to include everything, maybe then it will make sense, or maybe not. What would a memory from 7 to 9 years old in a hotel pool have to do with Gaza? Playing on TVs on the wall at an appliance store, each one playing a different memory or video I've witnessed, all playing at once, sound on, overlapping. The hotel had fantasy suites that I begged to stay in, and was only allowed after the hotel had done renovations and gotten rid of them. I can't begin to touch the fucked up meaning of that right now. This hotel's pool was flamboyant and frequently frequented by our family. There was a cave and stone waterfall feature. I would spend hours staring at the wall behind, connecting to intuition. I don't remember what I saw. The child deep in thought, seeing something. That is what is on the wall of the pool and also the wall of the TVs in between the videos of active genocide. What the fuck? I can't see a connection, or maybe I don't want to see a connection. I don't want to know what child me saw or know what they know. Oh God, I'm remembering I will have the opportunity to read this out loud. Maybe I'll be more open to seeing through my child's eyes then. But right now, it feels hard and confusing and vulnerable and scary. I don't want to. I will not push myself. It is okay for things to show up and to not be connected. And it's also okay to not be ready to connect them. I am more coherent than it feels when it's banging around on the inside. It's clearer on the outside.
Thank you for sharing. How do you feel?
Before I read it, I just thought I might have to pass on this one to get to the end of it and feel like it's coherent and I actually do see some connections and feel some things, and it is okay, and I do feel safe to share this and it feels good to share.
I think you started with, I don't know what to write. You wrote that down and went with that and allowed the words to come out. That you allowed yourself to say, I don't know that I'm going to read this aloud. And you recorded that. I'm curious about your experience of the writing process, of basically just being with what was coming up for you and writing it down. How did that feel to you in the moment, and how do you feel about it now?
I really forgot that we were doing this, that we're recording this, that I'm going to read this out loud. I was present with the writing. Literally, whatever thought I had, I wrote down. I felt like if I didn't do it that way, I wouldn't be able to write anything, because I was feeling why Best Buy having all the TVs full volume and multiple memories, and then thinking this feels weird and bizarre and confusing. And I thought if I tried to describe what happened, that wouldn't be enjoyable for me. I just was like, ugh. I couldn't try to make it means something because it just felt so disconnected. The part that I wrote that said this is too fucked up to think about right now is actually what I think is the connection. People are being denied everything. The hotel doesn't have them anymore. Now you can. Well, now I can't. I can't go back to my home because my home doesn't exist. There is no water. What I see is a connection, the feeling of how cruel and devastating and just mind trickery human beings can be to other human beings on all types of intensity, that we can withhold something from someone and trick them, say this way is safe, and then do these things that we thought were agreed upon as we will not do to each other. Will not hurt each other like this. We might hurt each other, but we're not going to do this because that's too far. We go too far. In small ways, it's in passive aggressive comments, in little things, and it's also in really big things. I'm looking at this thing. There's no possible way anybody could see it any differently. No, there's infinite ways. TV's blaring all at once. Anything that humanizes us to each other. It's also understandable to feel afraid of that connection because it's so powerful and intense. And it'd be really cool if we could connect to each other.
It feels like in the process of writing that you were able to connect to yourself in a way that if you hadn't been writing, I don't want to say your experience, but it just feels like the act of writing, which you might not have done if we were not in this practice, brings out something that would have been confusing or invisible had it just remained in your inner experience and was not set down in words.
I think there's a lot of reasons why I think about that hotel pool from time to time. It's a memory that pops up for me. But if I wasn't writing about it now, I would have completely swatted it away and thought, this is not at all connected. Why would you be thinking about that at the same time as thinking about this? It just doesn't make any sense. And I would have gone on to that sort of loop and really been hard on myself Writing allows me the space to listen to what I'm trying to tell myself.
Because you've practiced, it seems like you were able to just be like, okay, yeah, I want to figure it out. And I'm just going to write down this next word. When something feels impossible, and it comes up in the writing when we're having some kind of internal experience that we're putting down on paper and it feels impossible to describe, or maybe just something in life, this feels impossible. The practice of taking this incremental movement with your pen, writing the next word, is how we get through it.
Now we will listen to Sarah's writing and the conversation that came out of it as this session of Plumb practice continues.
What was bold to me? Me. I notice me. I listen to me. I experience my life. I notice what I'm experiencing. When I write it down, I make record of it. When I make record of it, I can witness it. Me. I notice me. I listen to me. I witness me. I experience me. Now, then, now. Cold hands, warm water, silver faucet. The water feels like a specific thing, a cylinder of water, a column of flow, gentle but specific, gentle but formed. Can the flow of water feel confident? Of course. Anything is anything. Anything is anything. Open the tap, feel the flow. It brings heat. It takes away the chill. Once I wrote about, write something else. I've been thinking today about the blog I've kept for years. I've written only a handful of posts in the past 5 years, but before that, it was my main creative outlet. Once in a while, I read a few random posts, and every time I feel something: grateful, awe, tears, empathy for myself and what I was going through at the time. Occasionally cringe, a little shudder about something I said. Today I noticed that so many of the individual thoughts, flashes, moments I recorded then, I have no memory of now, yet they feel familiar to me. Impressions, footprints in the sand that have washed away, but there they are on my blog, solid and real, and record that I was here. What am I even writing? What do I want to say? When I started that blog, I was saying what I had to say. Some people read it and it touched them. They left me comments or mentioned it in person. At the time, I wanted people to read it. I wanted my words to mean something to someone else. Now I know, and I've known this for a while, that the most important witness to the words I wrote then is me. Me now, me last year, me years from now. That's it. Me. I want to feel the same way about things I'm creating now. Sometimes I do feel that way. I'm doing this for me. My most significant witness is me. I do believe that. And then in some moments I question it. I go back on it. I wonder, why bother? And that's okay. Why bother? Because I'm here. Because I know I'm here and I want myself to know I'm here. Past me and future me, and before this life me, and after this life me. Why bother? Because it's not a bother to notice, to be with what is. I'm doing that all the time. It's how to live with my eyes open. Sometimes I forget I'm doing it, but I'm always doing it. Noticing, experiencing. It's experiencing what is. Warm water flowing onto my hand, bringing heat, making contact. Sensations remind me I'm here. Time flows, pools somewhere else. I drop words into the flow and they go. Go. Go where? I find them again. What was bold to me? Me. I notice me. I listen to me. I experience my life. I notice what I'm experiencing. When I write it down, I make record of it. When I make record of it, I can witness it. Me. I notice me. I listen to me. I witness me. I experience me. Now, then, now.
It was fabulous. I loved it. My witness statement is profound gratitude to how simple you stated something that is true. Your blog, how it feels to read it back and go like, oh yeah, that was me. Or to see a photo and go, oh, I looked better than I thought I did at the time. Seeing from a different perspective. When you're in it, it feels a certain way. If you document how that is, to then be able to see it again is such a gift. It really is like time travel. It is magic in a way. I felt really inspired by what you wrote, reading entries that you wrote where it's some specific detail about your child. There's been so many moments to remember this exact moment that it would be a magical, sparkly feeling to get put back in time with that child or with that version of you for a second. I felt the warmth of it. Yeah, that's what we want. We want to experience that for ourselves. Of course, it would be great to have people around us that love us and say, oh, remember when this happened and it was so great. That's how we show love to each other in relationship. But a lot of people don't have that or have it intermittently, have it sometimes and then have cruelty other times. Oh, we could have the connection and to feel that like, oh, remember this?
Being so struck with these individual moments that I literally do not remember. I recognize it. It feels familiar, but I do not remember it. Astonishing to have record of it. I think people do this with photography or just with art in general. What is art if not making record of how you feel? I don't know if that's, it feels like a partial definition for art. I don't think you have to write profound things or poetic constructions to have this experience. I think it could simply be a single statement of how you feel. It doesn't have to be profound or well put together to be meaningful.
So good.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our writing and conversation. And if you feel inspired to take up a journaling practice, we hope that you'll join us for Plumb Practice. It's so much better than staring at a blank notebook page, not knowing what to write, but knowing that you want to connect to yourself. Try out our free session. Try out our membership. We'd love to have you.
We need a space to get to know ourselves, and we need a practice to connect with how we really feel and what we really think. Plumb Practice provides the space for all of that and more. We are not taught how to connect with ourselves and how to witness ourselves and know what we're really feeling and thinking and what we really want. Everything that Sarah and I have created with the Plumb Collective is about connecting with yourself and practicing that connection. When we witness ourselves, we learn how to witness other people. When it comes to connecting with and helping people in need, we can witness the stories of the people having the experience. When someone is in need of help, help them in the ways they are asking. Listen and help.
Tune in next week for a new episode of the Plumb Podcast, where you'll hear a new conversation unfold from a new starting point. The conversation will be different, but we will always express ourselves authentically, and we create the space for you to do the same.